But first tonight, new details on the arrest of Cole Allen. He is the California man accused of traveling cross-country with guns and knives in an attempt to assassinate President Trump and other top U.S. officials. Good evening. I'm Josh Chapin. Scott Thuman has the night off. Investigators say Allen was caught in this surveillance video charging through part of the Washington Hilton hotel. In another room, the president, senior U.S. officials, and high-profile journalists were gathered for the White House Correspondents Dinner. Tonight, our Scott Taylor is looking into the security measures in place that night. But first, our Rebecca Turco starting our team coverage live at the federal courthouse where Allen appeared before a judge for the very first time. Rebecca, describe Mr. Allen's behavior.
He seemed alert today. He stated his name, he answered the judge's questions, but he didn't really show any emotion otherwise. Now, Cole Allen is facing 3 charges as it stands, and the attempted assassination charge is the heftiest of them all. Here's video from a hotel security camera that officials say shows the 31-year-old California teacher racing past a security checkpoint to try to get to the ballroom where the president and more than 2,000 guests gathered Saturday night at the Washington Hilton. Prosecutors say Allen traveled across state lines to try to kill President Trump. According to the court affidavit, Allen traveled by train from his home near LA to Chicago and then from Chicago to D.C. He arrived to stay at the hotel Friday afternoon. The affidavit states Allen sent an email to family members shortly before the incident Saturday, calling administration officials targets and prioritizing them from highest ranking to lowest, signing off the email as friendly federal assassin. Here's U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro.
Make no mistake, this was an attempted assassination of the President of the United States, with the defendant making clear what his intent was. And that intent was to bring down as many of the high-ranking cabinet officials as he could. This is the kind of situation that we cannot tolerate.
Today, officials released pictures of the weapons they say Allen had on him at the time: a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, a .38 caliber pistol, 3 knives, and other dangerous items. As for whether the suspect was upset by a certain policy or decision made by the president, the acting attorney general says understanding any additional motivation is still for the FBI and law enforcement to determine.
The complaint lays out what I think is described as a manifesto, which is something that he allegedly sent to many folks, his family. That's what we have so far as his motivation.
Now, prosecutors want Allen to be held pre-trial. There's a detention hearing on Thursday for a judge to determine that, and Allen is being held in the meantime until then. We are live from the courthouse. Rebecca Turco, 7 News.
Rebecca, thank you. There are a lot of questions being asked about what security measures were in place at that hotel. I-Team investigator Scott Taylor has been talking to people who have attended that event for years. Scott, bring us up to date with what you're finding out.
Oh, let's make it very clear right off the top. Secret Service stopped the suspect 1 level above the ballroom. The ballroom was the location of the dinner where President Trump and the First Lady were at when this all went down. Now, today I spoke with several people who were inside that ballroom when the shots were fired. Some weren't sure what was happening at first, while others quickly realized the threat was real. They say no one rushed for the exits, trusting the heavy security presence with the U.S. Secret Service and, of course, President Trump being nearby. Paul Teller, a longtime attendee and former chief of staff to U.S. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, told me the visible security appeared consistent with past years.
It felt very, very similar. I would say the main difference was a little bit more of a perimeter out on the street. You had to show your ticket sooner than I remember in the past. But in terms of where the magnetometers were, the metal detectors, same positioning, same rules that you could get to the pre-receptions in the hotel without security. You only needed security once you started approaching the ballroom.
Investigators will take a closer look at what they could have done different, but right now it looks like security at the time of the event seemed to work and stop the threat. For the I-Team, Scott Taylor, 7 News.
Scott, thank you. Of course, this is only the latest instance of a gunman coming to the district with the intent of carrying out an act of political violence. You'll remember in May of 2025, 2 young staffers who worked at the Israeli embassy were shot and killed outside a party at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Northwest. The accused gunman traveled to the district from Chicago and targeted the event, yelling "Free, Free Palestine" at the time of his arrest. And in November last year, an Afghan national shot 2 National Guard soldiers in an ambush-style attack. Sarah Beckstrom, a guard from West Virginia who was only 20 years old, died from her injuries. Another guardsman was shot but survived. And like Cole Allen, the Afghan gunman traveled across the country from Washington state to carry out the attack. In light of this weekend's violence, we want to hear from you. It does seem that all the hateful rhetoric from both sides can provoke some people to violence. So do you think it is up to every one of us, no matter what your side you're on, to have a political responsibility, a responsibility to tone down the political rhetoric? You can weigh in. You see 86% of you have said yes. Scan the QR code there on the right side of your screen. You can also vote by going to WJLA.com. The poll right there on the homepage. And in the wake of the attack on the White House Correspondents Dinner Association, President Trump has renewed his calls for the White House Ballroom to move forward, with some calling for the lawsuit holding up that construction to now be dropped. Jasmine Stiles over at the Alert Desk with new developments here. Jasmine?
Well, right now you're taking a live look at a press conference where senators are pushing for this ballroom to be built. Congressional approval is one of the many ways that this lawsuit can be moot, but until then, the Justice Department wants a historic preservation group to drop its lawsuit. But the National Trust for Historic Preservation says that is not happening. In a letter to the DOJ, the trust's attorney said the central legal issues they're challenging have not changed. Officials say the shooting at the Washington Hilton shows the planned ballroom would provide the space needed for the safety and security of the president. The DOJ said if the organization doesn't drop the lawsuit, the administration will move to dismiss the case. Josh?
All right, Jasmine, thank you. Let's